Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second part of this training. So, here's how I want to help you understand this make money with your mind. And it's that there is a daily work to it, right? As a part of growing our business, there's daily stuff that we do. And the daily work teaches you that. It gives you the action of intentionally thinking, the action of setting a goal, the action of practicing feeling emotion, and right, so many other actions. The action of cleaning up your mind, because there's only two types of mindset. There is the intentional thinking, and then there's the cleanup thought work. And then it also, right, this daily work jumps into like, don't just be in your head, because there's two types of people. There are the people who are just all about the action and they just don't have any problem with action, but it's not creating the result they want. And then there's the other type of people who are just so stuck in their head that they're not taking action. And so when you're able to self-identify which one you are, it will help you to know. Like if you're a non-action taker, sometimes that means you actually have to force yourself to take action. It's not going to feel comfortable. It's going to seem like a terrible idea. Your brain is going to have a ton of stuff, like good, valid reasons, seemingly, not to do it. But those of you who are so good at taking action, your work is to slow down and practice tweaking the reason you're not doing it. So today's work is the second part. The daily work is to do all of those things. But what I want to show you today is so often what I see is coaches who are like, I don't know what to be doing. I don't know how to be bringing my goal to life. I feel directionless. I'm doing the same things, but it's still not working. That type of response, right? And it's because you don't have the framework yet of becoming an entrepreneur, of knowing how to grow your business. And so the training today is kind of the zoomed out version. It's the daily work is like, yeah, go and run, right? If you want to do a marathon, let's practice running every day. But the part we're going to do today is, but don't just haphazardly run, like make a plan, figure out how much you're running every day, figure out how you know when you need to tweak so that you're building your endurance. Okay. So let me just read the comments here really quick. Francesca says, how have you grown your skills of stopping analysis paralysis? Do you cultivate a feeling of safety and security? That's an interesting question. So I'm going to answer the questions. Definitely pop them in, right? I'm going to answer them after I do this bit of training and then before I do this with you guys. So we have the daily work. I definitely want to hear your guys' questions on that. Before I do, I want to share with you guys. So I was talking to Marcy, and one of the first things as we were talking, she said was she did day one's homework and she already saw results from it. I want you guys, as you're creating these results, I want you to tell me about it, right? Because it's super fun to hear. But I want to tell you about it so that you can expect it. So here's what she was telling me, was that she did done work and then day one work. And then she went out and she just did stuff she already had planned, right? She had meetings with people set up. And so she went to those meetings and the first person, or I don't know what order it was, but one of the people was basically like, oh my gosh, I need to hire you. And so she booked a consult. And the other one was like, oh my gosh, my sister needs to work with you. I've already told her about you. Here's her number so you know who to expect, right? Like she got such an amazing result. And so of course, I asked her, what changed in the way you were thinking? And what changed for her was the way she used to go into these appointments, right? She set these up, was she was thinking thoughts like, they're probably not going to want to work with me. They're probably not going to have the money, but I have to do this because this is a part of building a business. Do you feel, even just in saying that, the heaviness of the words, right? The obligation in it. And so I asked her, of course, what were you thinking that changed? And she said, I started thinking after one day of doing the work, I was thinking, this could be my next client. Just notice, you guys, how light and airy that thought feels. This could be my next client, right? It's almost like it's just like possibility. And then she had the thought, I'm just showing up to serve them. And when I get there, I'm going to find out how they need to be served. Again, feel how much lighter that is. This is the difference in this work. It's learning to shift just like that. So let's jump into today's stuff. So the bigger picture zoom out, right? We've got the daily work. Keep doing the daily work, right? That's the running part. We got to keep running. But here's the part that it zooms out to. And this is the part that gives you the direction. So I showed you in the other training, I use this as a framework. This is just how our brain works. We have neutral circumstances. These can be anything from like the month of September. It can be a dollar amount that you want to create. It can be a certain number of days. In terms of this model, right? So I want you to get out some paper and I want you to build your own model right here with me. And then I'm going to bring you guys on. And if you have questions, we're going to like check out your model and see where things are or where you're running into problems. So this is going to be your model for creating your bigger picture goal. So the daily work, we're focused on either one client or one amount of money. But that's not all you want, right? Like you want something bigger. And so what I love to do is I'm going to start at the bottom of this, is that I love to structure the result in terms of what you want right now and what you're practicing building into. So what I have in this result line is 3 new clients. And so this is going to be the September goal, which, right, it might be a little different for one every 7 days kind of thing. So I want to create 3 new clients in September, 1 client at a time, by becoming, like as I become the coach who has 10 paying clients. And this one for you, if you only have 2 paying clients, might be 5. Or if you already have 9 paying clients, it might be 15 or 20. But notice what I'm doing with the R line here, right? Your result is I'm creating this month, 1 client at a time, because we can't do it any other way. And because our brain really needs that reassurance, that like, oh yeah, that's how it works. And then as a part of, and I love this, if you guys haven't listened to my podcast on goal setting versus becoming the person, definitely go listen to that. But you want to structure your goals as, I'm learning to be the person who just, like the coach who works with 10 clients. Because when you are that coach, right, you then get to say like, who am I as that person? And you get to look at it differently as like, oh, I'm just not her yet. I'm learning to be her. I'm learning to do the things she does. I'm learning to think in the way she does to create the results she has, right? So this is how I put the result so that you can live inside of this model for your business until you create it. So I hope this makes sense so far. So we pick out the result we want to create, just like we did with our daily work. And it could be 1 client, 3 new clients for the month, whatever, but it's like it's building on it so that your brain always knows what you're creating. Then we have the action line. How many of you guys have ever been like, I don't know what to do to create money? I don't know what to do to build the business I want. How many of you guys listen? Like, how many of your brains tell you that kind of stuff? Tally says, yep. Janelle says, yep. Yeah. Yeah, Melissa, yep. Krishanda, mm-hmm. Laura says, yep. Yeah, there are only 4 ways, you guys, that you can get in front of your people. And so the simpler we make this, I'm going to take this down actually for a minute. I'm going to show you the 4 ways. I love this. It like clips in. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I don't know how I thought it worked, but there's only 4 ways, you guys, that you're going to get in front of your people. 4. So your brain has been like when our brain thinks that we can get in front of our people any number of ways, our brains just freak out. So we are actually constraining so that our brains don't freak out. So you're going to just pick one. And how do you know which one to pick? You guys, I'm going to make it so simple for you. It's the one you want to pick. I know, earth shattering. Because some of you guys are going to have so much drama about social media. And it's not to say you're not going to eventually do social media, but the entry point is going to be higher because you have to do so much work on your brain to get yourself to do it. And so in that case, yeah, still do the work to get to the place where you can do social media, But you could also just do in-person networking. Because here's the difference. As a coach, when you network with people in person, here's what happens. You hear what they need and you tell them how you can help. It's a two-way conversation. When you're on social media, it doesn't work that way, right? You have to be referencing who you're speaking to, or you have to know that you're only speaking to a past version of you. Yeah, think about that. You have a transformation. That's what you're selling. You have a thing that you do, and you're selling it to a person who doesn't have that thing yet. And so often our brains will tell us, like, yeah, but, and you need to fill in all the things your brain is going to tell you. It's going to tell you, why would they pick me? Anybody could help them with this. Other people have this transformation too. And so you have to, like, that's part of your work, is finding the answer to that question for you. So social media is going to be one of the ways you get in front of your people. In-person networking, and when I say networking, that could actually be going to a technical official networking meeting, but that could also be like, I just saw there's this thing that's down the street from my house, and that's how I measure if I want to go. If it's on the other side of town, I'm like, nah, I don't know about that. But it's like really close to my house. And I don't even remember what it was. It was some like class about tidying up and, like, I don't know, organizing your house and something. And I was like, that kind of would be fun. I get to be with like other people in real life. And that counts as a networking event, right? Like, if you choose to interact with people in person locally to you, then anything you do that gets you in front of people is networking. Going to parties, going to like your kids' stuff, PTA, whatever, because you're always choosing to show up as a coach. Not a creepy person who's trying to sell people stuff, but as a confident person who just owns, like, yeah. And I remember this shift in energy, right? Like, before I was a successful coach, right? Before I realized I was a successful coach, I had to justify it in my brain. And so I did creepy things, like try to tell people how good I was, versus just like, when you own it and you're like, I'm a coach, you exude this energy in your body, and people either ask you what you do or they don't, but you have an energy to you. Okay. So in-person networking can be anything that you do connecting with people in real life. One of my clients was telling me that her husband forced her to go to the pool. He was like, stop working so much and come to the pool. She was like, fine, but I'm still going to talk to people about business. And I love that. And she was like, yeah, I totally chatted with 4 different people about coaching. And they were all like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Because people are everywhere. Connection opportunities are everywhere. So in-person is one of them. Another way you can connect with your people is by giving, I was trying to figure out how to say this, but it's like giving value to other people's audiences. So what does this actually mean? You could write guest posts for someone. You could be writing articles on Medium, right? It's like you're creating content, but it's for somebody else's audience. Or you could be like a guest podcaster. The other way that people do this is with SEO, right? So they create something on their website and then they perfect SEO, I don't know how long that takes, but they like learn the technique of it. And then Google sends them traffic. So there's this as an option. Bloggers do this one a lot. I don't know, but the whole like guest on things, that could totally work. And then the fourth option is just paid ads. So you guys, when we're figuring out your model and what's going to go in your A line, you're just picking one. There's no right answer, right? I did social media. That's what I've done for 3 years. I'm just starting to do paid ads. Here's the difference between them. One, it's your own mind drama. Which one can you do the easiest? Which one do you actually like want to do? You have a draw to do it. And then which one serves you? Because when I have a client who comes to me and they're like, I've got plenty of money and I don't want to spend my time, then it's like, of course you should do Facebook ads or just paid ads. Like, if you don't want to spend your time, because these 3 are time things. And this is the one where it's like, you're going to spend money, but right? Like, as long as you have a niche, as long as you're ready to just try things and learn in real time, go for it, right? So you're going to just pick one. You're going to keep it simple. You're not going to let your brain be confused, because there is no confusion. You're just choosing, how do I want to show up in front of my people? Because I live inside of this model. Okay. You run your entire business in this model until you have the goal you want. So that takes us to the action line. Now, I want to make sure I say this because we never know what action it's going to take. We never know, even inside, like if you put social media, we don't know if it's your post today or your post tomorrow that's going to create a client. We don't know if it was because you joined a Facebook group or because you posted that little blurb as like what you do in your personal page. We don't know if it was because you did videos on your Facebook business page or because you did something else. That's why you just try whatever is in your awareness to try inside of your 4 areas, reminding your brain that it's simple. But we don't know what it's going to take. That's why you have to be willing to like, I'm just going to keep trying things and learning from it. So here's what the action line is going to look like. And I kept this one really simple. You choose your one thing. I'm going to do in-person networking. And here's the thought. It's totally possible to fill my practice with 20 one-on-one clients doing just this. And honestly, I would say by the end of the year, it can just happen like that. Some of you are ready for that to happen. Some of you still have some mental work you need to do. So you chose one action. You do the daily work that I've taught you so far, right? You got the workbook. And why is this? Like, what does this encompass? If you were not going to do the daily work, what would you need to do here? You would need to have a goal, right? We have one here, but you'd have to have a goal. You would have to have it constrained into a 7-day time frame so that it's easy for your brain to remember. Because our brains don't remember. It's like, oh, I forgot. What was I doing? Don't let it do that. The other part of the daily work is you're intentionally believing. Our brain's just natural tilt is to find everything negative and terrible because it keeps us safe, right? Our brain's natural tilt is to keep everything the same because it requires the least amount of energy. And so for you, when you intentionally believe inside of this daily work, you are actually growing your brain and shifting and shaping how you show up in the world and changing your patterns. You are identifying in that daily work what your brain's objections are. And you aren't just like shoving them in the linen closet and like closing it real quick. You're addressing it. You're comforting your mind. You're seeing it as just a thought. You guys, it's the most powerful thing I do is that I have zero judgment of my mind. When my brain tells me things, I just have fun. I'm like, that's hilarious. Because I have awareness and I have acceptance. I have self-acceptance. And so my brain, of course, is going to have objections. And I'm like, cool. Every one of those objections that you guys cover every day in your work is getting you one step closer to creating your goal. Because those are all the reasons why you don't have what you want yet. Inside of that daily work, right? It's teaching you, it's encouraging, like, go take some action. Do something from this belief. Practice like hearing from your future self and getting wisdom and encouragement from that version of you. Because there's going to be some of you guys who just have a hard time believing that that future thing is even possible. But when you just go with like, no, I did it. And now my future me is telling me about it. And I'm just like the student sitting at her feet, listening to her wisdom. You get to have all of that wisdom and give it to yourself. You will be amazed at what your future self says to you. Even if, right, you practice her just being 7 days out. And then the last part of that work is learning how to like own that you either created the result or you didn't. So notice how like that daily work wraps up so many pieces of the action of mindset and the real action that you go out and take, where we can just make it one thing. And then here's the other part is it's evaluate. Now, I want to make sure I tell you evaluate because so often what people do is they're like, yeah, I've been blogging for like 8 years. And so what that tells me is somebody showed up and did the thing consistently, but they never stopped to evaluate. It would be like painting your entire house and then getting done and like, oh, I really don't like that color. It kind of looks like vomit. Like, whoa, that'd be great. It's like, no, you stop and you evaluate. I actually painted my office here and my takeaway was it's supposed to be a light gray. And I'm like, this looks like white. This isn't working. But I didn't stop to evaluate after one wall. I was just like, let's do it. But every time we evaluate, I want you to think about this with in-person networking. You might say, okay, so I'm just going to meetings. What am I going to evaluate? You're going to evaluate what's working, what's not working, and what would I want to do differently. And this isn't like just actions. This is your thoughts and feelings. Because if you check yourself and you're like, oh my gosh, what's not working is that I feel heavy and obligatory. Like, I'm going to in-person networking, but I just feel really heavy. Or I feel like I have to do it. Or I'm going to my in-person networking, but I'm not believing that anybody would want to hire me. I'm forgetting to think about why they would want to hire me, why this is the best thing they could ever give themselves, why this is actually a steal, right? Like if you forget to think those things, that's just this section right here. And that's what you go to tweak. It's not like, oh, I must need to go to different networking events. Well, like maybe, right? Like maybe you do it just because it's fun. But it's not like, oh, I have to just keep doing different in-person things. It's, I have to change this. And so by evaluating, we do this with our social media posts. How many of you guys just keep pumping out posts, but you never stop to say, wait a minute, if the goal of the post is to inspire somebody to into action, am I doing it? Okay, people are liking it, it's working, but I want to tweak how it works. So I have to churn up the volume. I have to create more value. Not that you ever measure, but that they measure. And the way you create more value is by changing this part right here. How do you create more value? You think in a way that allows them to get a bigger impact. You stop yourself by evaluating and saying, yeah, the posts are working. Like I'm getting ideas, I'm showing up and I'm creating them, but there's something in there that I need to tweak. And so the biggest thing I want you guys to see here is this right here can be super simple. This is the only thing you have to tweak. So when your brain is like, what do I do? You're reminding it, I only have one goal. It's one client at a time. I am only doing the things I decided I want to do. Inside of it, like, yeah, right, like in-person networking, I might decide to go to a different event, but I'm never like, oh, but what do I do? I'm like, no, I meet my clients through in-person networking. I remember to believe I can meet all 20 of them just in-person networking, right? So when you look at in my business, if I'm not getting the results I want, consults and clients and money and monsters, oh yeah, right? I don't know, got into Wizard of Oz there. This is the only place you tweak, okay? Let's see, so Miranda says, what's not working is that I'm not getting consults. Yeah, so if you're not getting consults, right, think about that. You get to ask yourself the question, why aren't I creating consults? So Miranda, I want you to ask that and post it in there. Because you guys, so often, no, every time, your brain knows the reason. Your brain knows the reason. But this is you living inside of the intentional model. This is what you let drive your business. And you're not always going to create the result you want. You guys, there are going to be 100 different thoughts. There's going to be the thoughts and feelings that don't create the result you want. That's why in our daily work, we're cleaning that stuff up. Then there's going to be 100 other thoughts that you learn to put in there and try on. They are going to be simple things like, this could be my next client. Let's just wait and see. Let's like, ooh, that'll be fun. They could be simple thoughts like, I have something that people want. They could be simple thoughts like, I don't have to be the best at this. I just have to be further along than the people who need this, right? Like my people, I just have to be further along than them. Because it's true, that's all you have to be. This thing right here is going to be you cleaning up the garbage, the stuff that's not creating the results you want, and bringing in and tweaking it, right? Like, okay, like I had good thoughts, but did I clean up the other stuff? This is where you stay in your work. Let's see. Anna says, same here, not getting consults. So Miranda says, I'm not showing up enough. You guys, so this is a fun word. There's words like enough. Whenever my brain says that, I'm like, I laugh at it. I laugh with it. We laugh together, my brain and I. Because enough isn't a thing. Like it's not a thing, you guys. Enough. Because Miranda, how would you even know if you were doing enough? Quantify that for me. Now, what we do know when we learn to speak in data instead of story, we say, okay, you're not showing up. So now you get to ask yourself, Miranda, how do I want to be showing up, but I'm not? Go ahead and answer that. How do you want to be showing up, but you're not? Anna says, my brain says it's because I'm not very inspired and I'm not inspiring and social media doesn't really work for me. I know your brain has a whole list there. So then it becomes, if we just stop with, it's just a thought, I'm not inspiring. You guys, I want you to consider, what if that was just a thought, right? Like, what if you were inspiring? But inspiring, you're pretending like inspiring is a way of being. Inspired is a feeling. So if you, Anna, are not feeling inspired, what are you thinking that's causing you to feel not inspired? Because that then becomes the only thing you need to work on. Either clean up that other thing or just decide, how do I create the feeling of inspired in my body? What do I need to remember to believe? Because so often in that first 50,000, you guys, the reason you don't feel inspired is because you're so busy thinking about yourself that you forget to think about the other people, to think about the people who need your help, to think about that past version of you that you're showing up to teach them, even if it's something as simple as your thoughts are optional. I remember that. I remember being like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't know my thoughts were optional. What? That was huge for me. And like some people, that's all they need to hear. Miranda says, I want to be doing stories in weekly lives. I wonder what to talk about so I don't show up. Notice that. Your thought is, I don't know what to show up. I don't know what to talk about. You guys, this is the art of asking yourself powerful questions, because the minute you realize, oh, that's a thought. The thought is, I don't know what to talk about. And when you choose to believe that thought, you take the action of not showing up. Now, what if you asked yourself a powerful question, which would be, but what if I did know? Because suddenly you go from like, I don't know, right? And you feel like you're in this like closed up flower. And then when you ask yourself powerful questions, like, what if I did know? Your brain will suddenly be like, oh. And it takes some work. It takes some work to realize like there's no right answer. I'm just trying something. One of the arts that you will have to learn is making decisions. And so for me, like my daughter's birthday is tomorrow. She's turning 16 and my brain's like, oh my gosh, there's just too much. I don't know. I'm so overwhelmed. And I was like, okay, right? Me on me here. Like, let's write down, what do we need to make decisions on? Oh, I need to decide if we're gonna go have dinner with her or not. Okay, but in order to make that decision, I need to check with her dad and see if he has plans. Okay, I need to call the school and see if I can send her flowers. Okay, I need to decide, because we're giving her a gift. I don't want to tell you guys in case she's here. I don't think she's here. We're gonna give her a car. We're gonna give her our old car. We're not quite that fancy. Those people on YouTube or whatever. But I'm like, oh, how do we package that, right? So I feel overwhelmed because I have all these decisions, but I just asked myself, what if this was just a simple line of decision making? And then I just started making decisions. I took all the drama out of it. And so you need to ask yourself, what if I didn't know what to talk about? Or what do my people need to hear? Because the simple act of not knowing what to talk about is you just haven't asked yourself a question to open up the flower. Let's see. Janelle says, my brain says I can't just go to networking. That's only a few hours a week. If that's all I pick, what do I do with the rest of the week? It's a good question. What would you do with the rest of the week? So you could just do in-person networking. You could, because it just takes a few people that you connect with. But maybe you're like, oh my gosh, in-person networking is my job. So if in-person networking was your job, Janelle, how would you get in front of more people? How would you make sure that you were constantly connecting with people in a way that was still fun? And if you were like, oh, you know what? I actually don't want to be with people that much. then maybe you would start doing something else. But here's the thing about this list of how do we get in front of people. It's never about just creating content. It's like, if I'm going to create content, like I'm going to go put it on Medium where they already have an audience. I'm going to go see if I can get on a podcast. I'm going to go like tweak SEO, and then I'm going to measure it and see if it works, right? It's all about how do I get in front of people? Because billboards are the best example. Do you want to have a billboard that's on a busy highway, or do you want to have a billboard that's on a country road and it's dirt and people actively don't turn down it? Because what so many people in the online space do is they go out and they build this beautiful billboard, and it's intricate and it's detailed and it has a great call to action, and it's on a back road and nobody ever sees it. Don't be that person. Have subpar work. Okay, don't have subpar work. Have less than beautiful work and on a road where everybody's going to see it. Francis, because I think that my brain thinks social media is the only way. I think it thinks social media equals to credibility. So if I choose another way, I won't be credible. Yeah. No, I mean, social media is a way. So what you have are some thoughts, like I won't be credible, but notice that your brain is really, right? Anytime that our brain reflects to somebody else, it's because we don't think we're credible. So your work, Francesca, I think that's right, is to create that belief in yourself. I know what I'm doing. I can help people. I am good at this. It doesn't matter where I show up. What matters is that I'm around my people and that I just invite them to work with me. When it's not creepy and weird, I allow them to work with me, right? But this is a you issue. Like, that's the best part to realize. Oh my gosh, this is a me issue. I love that. Mandy says, sometimes I feel like I'm repeating myself or a topic over and over, and I've run out of things to talk about when it comes up on social media. My last coach told me to post 3 times a day for 5 days a week. Even sitting down to use social media takes a lot of time. Yeah. Here's how I create content. I live inside of my transformation, right? So I am constantly a living, breathing example of what I do. And I have a thought that my life is my content. And so I just look for it, right? And it's anything from like me having conversations with my brain to like real things, right? Real things. And I just don't put any pressure that I have to do it a certain number of times, because you guys, the action doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you post 3 times a day, 5 days a week. Now, it's good for people to see you. I'm not saying that's not good, but this is never what creates your results. How do we know for sure? Because some of you guys have been posting on social media 3 times a week, 5 days a week, 3 times a day, 5 days a week, and you're still not creating the result you want. How can you justify that except anything but you have a gap right here? And so the way that I create content is I look for the content in my day, and I make sure that when I feel the inspiration, I create it as quickly as I can. Because if you write that stuff down in Buffer, or if you just write a halfway done note in your phone, you're going to have 5,000 halfway notes, and then your brain and you are going to come back, and what is it going to say? It's going to be like, I have no idea what I was talking about. I wonder why I wrote that. That doesn't seem like a good idea anymore. And so the quicker you can just get content out there, the better. So I don't ever think about like planning it ahead or like scheduling it. I just know I always have what I need in this moment. That's why even if you guys are working your business part-time, it doesn't matter. You just don't need that much time to create content to be ready to serve people. I'm gonna open this door. My husband came home earlier, and so I closed it, but it's like my office does not get any air. And then I start to sweat. That's not beautiful. Oh, but Mandy said she's repeating herself too. That's a really good point. So I hear people say that. Do you know what I repeat myself about? I just keep saying over and over and over that it's your thoughts. Now, I say it in like 900 different ways. But it's right, like the biggest realization I have is like, Oh my gosh, that's a thought too. And so it's okay. Think about it. Like you haven't learned how to. This isn't about anybody else. Mandy, you haven't learned how to say your thing in a way that people can hear it. When I think about mindset, I still am a skeptic, but I used to not believe mindset was a thing. I was like, that's like the oxygen bar at the airport. Like, that's ridiculous. Why would anybody do that? I'll probably try it at some point, but that's what I thought mindset was. I was all about what can I do? What do I need to be doing? How busy can I be? Because busy in action meant results. Except it didn't, because I wasn't creating them. And so one day I heard a podcast, and finally I had ears to hear. I could hear what she was saying about mindset, and I could finally see how, oh, when I think the thought, this isn't working, and I feel that heavy pull in my body, and I'm like, well, and when I think that thought, what do? Well, I don't show up. I create content from a forced place. I connect with people from a forced place, as opposed to thinking, oh, this is working, because ideas are coming to me, because I'm getting over my own drama and I'm putting it out there, because I'm learning how to create value in a way that inspires people into action. Like, this is working. And we're just learning the different ways that we practice saying it. Let's see. Krishanda says, I think mine's twofold. I'm scared of the visibility and I keep flip-flopping on my niche. I'm the best at health coaching, but I've recently gained some weight. Yeah, this is a good one, you guys. So I'm scared of visibility. Let's start there. You guys, part of the reason that I love my brain is because I think in processes, okay? So when I think about when I think about Krishanda, like where her struggle is, now this is a head game, right? This is something that's just, but it's like, in order for you to, what was I gonna say? So you have to believe in yourself. What was it you said again? I'm scared of visibility. Yeah. You have to believe in yourself to show up, right? And however you choose to show up. And you have to learn how to create, I don't know what I'm writing, learn value, transformation, right? Well, I'll just finish writing it. So there's only so many phases here, and you're going to know your work based on the phase, right? So in order for you to actually show up on social media or at in-person networking events, you have to believe in yourself. And so what Krishanda is saying is like, I'm not a living, breathing example of my work anymore. And so I think people will judge me. I'm judging me, so I'm pretty sure they will too. And as long as she chooses to stay in that place, she won't even get to the place where she shows up. Because how could she? Her brain is actively like, don't do it. You're not, like, what would you even have to talk about? You're not doing it, right? You guys, if your brain is the issue, it's always the issue. Don't let me trick you there. If you're not showing up, it isn't for any reason except that you have thoughts about yourself. You have thoughts about the tools and the coaching and your transformation. That means that's your first and most valuable work. Your work then is not to practice showing up, because it doesn't matter. You can force yourself to go and take action and show up. And it's like, if you're doubting this isn't going to work. So Krishanda, your first work is to like find the place where, right? Like, you're like, well, I'm a really great health coach, but I gained some weight. So your job is two-part. One is to find the place how you can still be a great health coach exactly as you are for your people. How could that be? That could be the person who's learned how to lose 50 pounds, coaching the people who want to learn to lose 100. That could be the person who still has weight to lose, but they learned how to love themselves. And their people are the people who are still trying to learn to love themselves, right? You see how it's just like they're in a different state than you. And then the second part of your work, Krishanda, is going to be, if you want to lose weight, then do it. But when you're thinking the thought like, oh, I gained weight, and you're having some thoughts, you're not going to take the action because you're just beating yourself up and you're feeling terrible about it. You want to get to the place where you're like, I know what to do. I'm a health coach. I can do this. I can do it for me. And then I become an even better coach to help them. Because Krishanda, I guarantee you are going to work with people who have lost weight, and then they're like, oh, but I lost it once. And you're going to be like, yeah, I get it. I gained the weight. You get to study now. Why did you gain weight? What caused you, a health coach, to do that? Because if that happened to you, 100% it's going to happen to your clients. And so this is actually your best content. And it's you learning how to lose weight again, but for good. It's you learning, why did I gain weight? And how do I make sure this never happens to me again? How do I, or like, oh no, I'm actually glad this happened and I'm totally cool. I allowed this and I want it. It's totally optional. And then when it comes to your niche, you guys, you believe that niches are things that like fall from the sky. They don't. Do you want to know what a niche is? It's a decision. It's just a decision. It would be like saying, I just don't know what husband to marry. So I decided to choose none of them. I didn't know which guy to go on a second date with. I had 10 and I was like, man, I don't know which one. So I'll just date none of them. A niche is a decision. And the best way you decide is you look at your own transformation and you say, like, what can I help people get to? Like, where was I and where did I get to? Where were they and where do they want to get to? Right? When I look at my transformation, I was the person who took all the action for years and it didn't work. And then I added mindset and I was like, and then my business went from $6,000 in 1 year to $120,000 in the next year. And then this year will be, I mean, my goal was like 250, but man, I think it'll easily be like 300,000 or 400,000. And then I'm going to maybe I'll make $1 million next year, or maybe I'll just keep taking it slow, no pressure, and make $1 million in 2 more years. Right? And I just now decided, like, I had a niche, but it was kind of like I help people create money with their mind. That's not that specific, but I just keep honing it in and I keep knowing it's a decision. Mandy says, I'm amazing when I free flow and feeling inspired to speak on something, but when I plan out social media topics, I don't necessarily have that fire. Yeah. Because you guys, inspiration is a feeling. Your content is going to be so much more powerful when it comes from that place of inspired than when you're like, well, I just created it and I put it out there because I need to. No, stop taking action because you have to, because it's the way to build a business. Take action in your business because you want to, and learn how to create that fire feeling. That's the job. Like, that's actually the work, is to create the feeling, to use your feelings to guide you in either what you're doing, or like to see like, oh, that's not working. Why is that not working? I feel terrible. And not like uncomfortable growth, but like, no, like I'm actually doing this from a place of like, this is never going to work kind of thing. Francesca. Yes, I wondered. Jennifer says, I love the idea of not using social media, as you know, but I keep trying to fit a square peg in the round hole. I should use it. People like me when I meet them in person. Yeah. So that's going to be part of your work, is going to be, I have all these thoughts that I should use it. But what if you believed the thought, Jennifer, I can fill my one-on-one practice just with in-person networking? How would that change for you? What if you truly relied back on, it just is a tweak of my thoughts and feelings? Like, this is working, right? Because we have to be careful. There's two lenses. There's the it's not working lens, let's fix it. And there's the it is working. Now, how can I think and feel differently to tweak and turn up the volume? How do I turn up the emotion? How do I turn up my certainty in myself? How do I turn up the certainty that I can help people? And what do I do then in person because I'm believing that? How do I turn up the certainty that people want this? that they're like waiting. That's my favorite thought, you guys. Whenever I notice that I'm in inaction, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to believe that people are waiting. Such a fun thought. Like, people are waiting. And then I find proof of it. Like, no, people are actively asking me, hey, how can I work with you? And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're waiting. I forgot to believe that. So Jennifer, one of the thoughts that's going to be working against you, it's like dragging you down, is the thought, I have to do it, or I should do it. Feel that thought, right? It's a drag, right? Yeah, that thought is actually a barrier to you creating as big as you could. And you know what? If you decide I'm not going to do social media and this is just a test, I'm going to just not do it for 3 months. Just test it. See if you're not a happier person who shows up in your life, in your in-person networking in such a bigger way. Selena says, similar question. If social media and my new email newsletters is my choice, how do I fill the 20 to 40 hours a week that I've been told is necessary each week? Let's see. I don't know. I guess I don't even think about how do I fill the time. So how would I fill time if I was trying to force myself to work in a specific amount of time? I would find ways to get my content in front of more people. Because think about it, guys, like most of you are like, I've got this great content, but it's only being seen by so many people. So if you wanted to like fill time, find ways to get in front of more people. Work on yourself and your transformation. I'm not saying the whole time, right? Like a chunk of time. Coach people for free. Like, I don't care if it's like your brother or your aunt, but the more time you're in that energy, like the easier it's going to be for you to be like, yeah, I'm a coach. But yeah, practice getting in front of more people. I heard a coach who like pitched herself to be on the local NPR channel, and they brought her on and they interviewed her. And I was like, what? I'm like, that's a thing? Like, oh my gosh, I could totally do that. But I just, right, like for my own self, it's not part of my plan. There's tons of things we could be doing, but sometimes we just decide not to. So in that early stage, you might decide you want to try something from all of the things, but make sure you're doing it from the energy of like, I'm just practicing getting in front of people. I'm just seeing what creates the result I want. I'm putting it out, because Selena, what you're saying is I'm putting out all of these posts, but they're not creating the result I want. So it's like part of your work isn't to try and spread yourself out thinner. It's to say, I'm taking the action of posting on social media. It's not creating the result I want. Now, where do I look to make the tweak? Because what our brains tell us is we have to get in front of more people, like we're doing it wrong, this isn't working. But no, we come back to you're believing things that aren't serving you. You're forgetting to believe things that make this actually effective. So this is the place that you go, but it's either, and this is where the daily work comes in, you set your goal, and every day it's like, how am I going to create this in the next 7 days? Why didn't I create it yesterday? And you choose not to be confused. You choose to make decisions. Oh, it's because I'm not making offers. Oh, it's because my content isn't inspiring people into action. How do I tweak that? What do I need to be thinking and feeling differently? Okay, I was thinking this. I was thinking that I'm a resource, but how do I make that so that I, right? Like that thought's just not serving me. It's not getting the result that I want. So it's a constant, like, do it, test it. If it's not creating what you want, you have to start tweaking. Mandy says, that's the place I like to teach from in my own life, the lessons I learned. Yeah, don't do things because you have to. Libby's very familiar with 5,000 halfway down notes. Me too. I love when I look at them, I'm like, I have no idea what I was saying, but I bet it was good. But in the moment, right, you're like, this is the best idea ever. I've actually been thinking like, maybe I want to be on Twitter, because then I could just be posting things all day long and I wouldn't be thinking like, oh, I don't know, I've already posted like 3 good things today or whatever I might be thinking. Let's see. Maria says, you may repeat yourself, but it's new to the person who just found you today. Yeah, think about that. There's people who just found you today. What if they needed you? I also love the idea of like, no, I love the responsibility. I just haven't said it in a way yet that they could hear. I love the idea of like, they just don't have ears to hear yet. It's my job to say it in a way that they can. Let's see. Would you suggest just sticking with one action in the beginning to avoid confusion? I think that if you're prone to confusion and that if you need to do that, then do it, right? Like social media is enough. In-person networking is enough. The goal is, how do I get in front of people? How do I connect with them? And the way you do that is up to you. Now, once you get through that drama part of like, oh, I don't know, then you can just decide like, no, I want to do all the things. I have plenty of time. I want to just try them all. And so that's what you do, right? You do everything you need to do, everything you can think of to create the result you want, but not from a place that it's the action that does it. It's from the place of, I want to do these things. Now, what do I need to be thinking and feeling? Because it would be more, you would get a better and different result changing the thoughts and feelings, just cleaning up the stuff that's not helping and bringing in things that you're forgetting to think. You guys, it's as simple as a thought like, I can help people. Like, I have tools to help people change their life. I've done it myself. I can help somebody else. That series of thoughts right there, if you believe that, I want you to think about what percentage of your time you spend thinking that versus the percentage of time you spend thinking, this isn't working, I don't know what to do, that didn't work. Sometimes all this is like, it's an energy shift into intentionally thinking things that create those feelings in your body versus your default, which is your brain like, oh my gosh, yeah, somebody booked a call, but they're probably not going to hold it. And they're probably going to have a money objection. And I don't know where to find people, right? Like, those are two different types of places in your brain that you will let your brain be. And it takes discipline to stop the chatter. But I want to encourage you. I hired my coach, I don't know, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And I was attracted to her because she had brain drama, right? She had mind drama and she still had a successful business because I had so much mind drama. And now what I find is like, I still for sure have mind drama, but the thing that I can encourage you guys with is like, you can turn the chatter off. You can like you can choose it. Like, sometimes I hear conversations and I'm like, no, we're not having that conversation. And so we just stop it, which allows me to experience this, I want you to, it's like having a quiet house when you normally have kids in it. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing in here. It's so quiet. That's what you can create with your brain. And imagine how much more you're going to create, how more effective you're going to be when you just practice giving yourself that calm silence. Let's see. So Tony Robbins says the same thing every talk he gives. It's okay. It's actually a good thing. People need to hear things. Yeah, right? Like Tony, like I think of Dave Ramsey. He's not saying anything new. He has like 7 baby steps and he basically only talks about like 3 of them. And then the others, he just like sprinkles in. He even has anything in like 2 phases. He only talks. So think about that. If you were going to structure your stuff you talk about, what would it be? What would be the umbrella, right? So for me, it would be mindset is the solution. And then underneath it, it would be like, we have to clean up money drama. We have to clean up and like create your strength in knowing how to create money. We have to clean up your thoughts about yourself and your offer. And like, either you have to learn to start taking action or you have to stop taking action and start creating some thought. Right? Like, think about what your subcategories are. It's that simple. That's what you're learning how to do with your content, because then it will just flow. You'll be like, oh, what do I want to talk about today? What is the rest of your chart on the board? The rest of my chart. I think I told you all of it, right? So we have the result you're going to create, the action you're going to take. This is you're going to live inside of this model until you create the results. The action doesn't change, right? Unless you're like, I want to go to a different networking event. I'm going to post something different. The only thing that changes is the thought and the feeling. You're going to tweak them. You're going to take some out. You're going to put others in. And then this is just a neutral circumstance that like directs your brain. So your goal is going to be for 7 days at a time, but it's inside of the month of September. right? So the neutral circumstance could be anything from an amount of money you want to create, a time frame. When we're processing our mind with the neutral circumstance, sometimes what we might put there is like words somebody said, like things that happened that we're trying to like function inside of. But for the sake of your goal, it could be a time frame. Do you have a Facebook group for this training? Nope. I have in the past. I didn't do it this time because I wanted you guys to come to me. So in your emails, I want you to reply to me. Here's the other thing that I'm going to do is I wasn't going to do this, but we just have so many more people who have come in. And so we're going to do coaching tomorrow and Friday. If you can't come, that's okay, right? But we're going to coach on the daily work and then any other questions you have about this, and I'm going to coach you one-to-one. So today I've just been answering questions, which I don't know that I meant to do that, but it worked. Roll with it, right? But I'm going to do coaching the next day and the next day as well, because I want you guys to get the most from this. Like, this is the work, and you're either going to do it on your own or you're going to come and do it with me. And either way is beautiful. I am going to tell you guys about a group that I'm launching that you can come and do this in a container with me so that we can keep coaching your mind, where you're doing the daily and you're doing the bigger picture as you focus on creating your goal. Let's see, what does the CTF mean again? Yep, Mandy, great question. So C is the neutral circumstance. Donald Trump is a neutral circumstance. The month of September is a neutral circumstance. However much debt you have, neutral circumstance. How much money you want to create, neutral circumstance. Anything like that, right? We put neutral circumstances up here. It is like if you were writing an essay, it would be the header image of it. It would be the subject line of your thoughts. This is going to be your thoughts about the neutral circumstance. So in this case, it's going to be 7 days. So there's two ways that we can run a model. We can start from the bottom and work our way up, or we can start from the top and work our way down. And this is just how we process our mind. From up to down is how we create. We create with the result in mind, the end thing that we're creating. When we come from the top, what we're doing is we're seeing all of our default thoughts about this. So you guys are going to have default thoughts like, my parents are in town. I can't make money in 7 days. I don't have time for consults. Nobody's booked one yet. Those are going to be your default thoughts about this neutral circumstance. Then every thought creates one feeling. Before you learn the art of separating them out, it's going to feel like there's a lot. Every thought creates one feeling. And that feeling, right, that's what you're practicing tying together. You're practicing feeling feelings and thinking thoughts and seeing which ones help you create the results you want and which ones don't. Because in the early days of mindset, I'm like talking faster because I have another call. In the early days of mindset, you choose thoughts that don't have the same power that they will later on. And so those thoughts might be something like, I can do it, or they're really long. Cracks me up when my clients do that. I'm like, no, thoughts are not paragraphs. We don't feel paragraphs at the same like height of feeling that we feel a simple thought like, it's working. Like, I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm committed to figuring it out. Notice how powerful that is. Let's see. Do you have a video going through a day work beyond the workbook you sent, the daily work? No, but Maria, if you have questions, let me know, because that's going to be like, where are you struggling with it? Janelle, I'm not evaluating. Yeah. Don't judge yourself when you're doing it, right? Like, that's the part you cut out. We cut out the judgment. Because when we're doing a model, here's what happens. We have the reason we didn't do something, right? We have the action we did or didn't take. It was always because of a thought. And then we slam models into each other. And the other model then becomes the judgment of the first model. And if we just cut out the judgment part and we're like, analyze this one as data, we get to save so much time, not like just judging ourselves and feeling shame and feeling guilty and all of the things. So Miranda, I'll send out a message about how to get coached tomorrow. Maybe I'll take volunteers ahead. Maybe we'll just raise our hands. But yeah, I'll send you guys out the links. We're going to do it tomorrow and the next day. You don't have to come, right? But if you want to, it's here. The daily work is the most important thing you can do. So I'm going to get this recording up, but I have got a couple hours more of client calls, and I will see you guys tomorrow.